You are being robbed right now, and the thief is in your pocket. The elites have engineered a silent trillion-dollar heist designed to bleed your bank account dry while you sleep. Watch until the very end to decode this financial matrix and finally take your life back. You are being lied to. Every single evening, when the news anchors flash their perfectly white smiles and announce that the national GDP is breaking new records, a silent, invisible theft is happening right inside your wallet. You sit there, staring at your banking app, watching your balance gasp for air, and you wonder if you are trapped in some twisted, alternate reality. If the country is getting so damn rich at lightning speed, where is your cut? You are not crazy, and you are not in a parallel universe. You are simply a victim of the greatest financial gaslighting campaign in modern history. The elite use macroeconomics not to educate you, but to intimidate you. They throw complex jargon around to paralyze you, turning your hard-earned cash into lazy money that rots away in the dark while inflation devours its purchasing power. Welcome to the wealth ladder. If you are tired of being manipulated by financial illusions and are ready to finally decode the unwritten rules of this capitalist game, hit that subscribe button right now. Your support fuels our motivation to keep ripping the mask off the system and bringing you the brutal truth they do not want you to know. Now, let us strip away the academic nonsense. Forget the terrifying equations drafted by out-of-touch professors who have never run a business a day in their lives. Macroeconomics, at its core, is nothing but elementary school arithmetic amplified by a million. I want you to mentally shrink this colossal, intimidating national economy into a humble corner bakery, your bakery. Gross domestic product, the mighty GDP, is merely the total cash value of every single loaf of bread baked and every delivery fee charged inside the walls of that bakery over exactly 1 year. If it is baked next year, or baked by the guy across the street, it does not count. That is the grand mystery solved. But let us look at the infamous formula they use to make you feel stupid. GDP equals C plus I plus G plus NX. Applied to our bakery, it is almost laughably simple. First, we have C for consumption. These are the exhausted office workers and hungry students stopping by every morning, handing over a few bucks for a warm croissant. They chew, they pay, and that is your C. It is the lifeblood of the operation. Then comes I for investment. As a visionary owner, you know you cannot knead dough by hand forever. You take a risk. You sacrifice today's comfort, and you buy a heavy-duty industrial mixer to multiply your output tomorrow. That is your I. It is not a gamble. It is purchasing the future. Next is G, government purchases. Your bakery sits on a public street. The local authorities send a garbage truck at midnight, dispatch police officers to deter vandals, and pave the asphalt so your delivery drivers do not break their axles. These expenditures, ensuring your business does not collapse into anarchy, make up the G. Finally, NX, net exports. Your sourdough is an absolute masterpiece. Word spreads, and you start shipping boxes to neighboring towns, which is your export. But you also have to import premium French butter to keep the quality top tier. Subtract the cost of that foreign butter from the cash brought in by your exported bread, and you have your NX. Add them all together, and you possess the GDP of your bakery. It is a raw, unfiltered pulse check on your capacity to produce and survive in a ruthless world. If you fail to grasp this fundamental mechanism, you are destined to remain just another face in the crowd, mindlessly swiping your credit card to fund someone else's consumption, rather than building an empire of your own. Understanding the raw mechanics of your bakery is only the first step. Now you must recognize the silent arsonist burning it down from the inside. You notice that the flour you buy every week suddenly costs 20% more, even though it is the exact same flour milled from the exact same wheat. You are forced to raise the price of your bread just to keep the lights on, and the news anchors cheer, pointing to the higher dollar amount moving through your register as proof of economic growth. But you are not richer, are you? You are actually working longer hours, sweating harder over the ovens, just to maintain the exact same standard of living you had last year. This is the insidious nature of inflation, the unseen tax levied upon your time and your life energy without your consent. It is a slow, methodical bleeding of your purchasing power, orchestrated by a system that desperately needs to dilute the value of money to cover its own astronomical debts. When you leave your profits sitting in a traditional savings account, earning a microscopic yield while real-world costs skyrocket, you are essentially leaving your hard-earned bread out in the rain to rot. The establishment wants you to believe that rising prices are a natural, unavoidable phenomenon, perhaps the fault of greedy corporations or unexpected supply chain hiccups. That is a smokescreen. The truth is that money is being conjured out of thin air, flooding the streets and chasing the same limited number of goods. Your dollar is not buying less because the world is running out of resources. Your dollar is buying less because there are suddenly billions more of them in circulation, diluting the unique value of the ones sitting in your pocket. They have weaponized the currency against the very people who labor to give it value. The tragedy is that the average person views a cost of living raise as a victory. They celebrate a 5% bump in their paycheck, while the actual cost of housing, healthcare, and groceries has quietly surged by 15%. You are sprinting on a treadmill that is slowly increasing its speed, and no matter how fast your legs move, you are being dragged backward. To survive this, you have to stop looking at money as a permanent store of value. It is merely a temporary receipt for your labor, a melting block of ice that you must exchange for something of true substance before it turns into a puddle. If you do not learn how to convert your melting fiat into hard assets, you will spend the rest of your life wondering why you are exhausted, broke, and entirely dependent on the very system that is quietly robbing you blind. While inflation quietly drains the register of your bakery, the true architects of this financial arson operate in plain sight, pulling the levers of a machine you were never meant to understand. Enter the central banks, the unelected overseers of this grand illusion who wield the power to dictate the cost of survival. We are taught to view these institutions as benevolent guardians of the economy, stepping in to smooth out the rough edges of capitalism and protect the working class from disaster. Do not be naive. They are not the guardians of the free market. They are the ultimate monopolists, holding the exclusive right to price the most important commodity on earth, which is debt. When they decide the economy needs a sugar rush, they slash interest rates to the floor. Suddenly, money is incredibly cheap to borrow. As the bakery owner, you are lured into a false sense of security. You take out massive loans to buy 3 more ovens, expand your storefront, and hire a dozen new employees because the cost of capital is virtually zero. The entire country does the same. Everyone is borrowing, everyone is spending, and the resulting euphoric boom feels like genuine prosperity. But it is entirely synthetic. It is an adrenaline injection straight into the heart of the market, designed to artificially inflate the GDP numbers so politicians can claim victory on television. Then, when the inevitable inflation begins to choke the life out of the middle class, the puppet masters abruptly change the rules. They raise interest rates, slamming the brakes on the very economy they just pumped full of cheap credit. The cost of your loans doubles overnight. Consumer spending vanishes because your customers are suddenly drowning in credit card debt. The ovens you bought on credit become dead weight, and you are forced to lay off the staff you just hired. This is the boom and bust cycle, and it is not an accident of nature. It is a mathematical certainty engineered to transfer wealth from the uninformed to the elite. During the bust, when desperate business owners are forced to liquidate their life's work for pennies on the dollar, who do you think is standing by with immense capital to buy up those assets? It is the very same financial class that orchestrated the monetary policies in the first place. They use the boom to inflate their portfolios and the bust to acquire your tangible wealth at a steep discount. You are playing a rigged game of musical chairs, and the central banks control the radio. This deliberate cycle of cheap debt and manufactured scarcity creates a brutal dividing line between those who own the game and those who are merely played by it. The matrix of wealth relies on one fundamental deception: convincing the masses to relentlessly accumulate liabilities while the elite quietly hoard assets. Think back to our bakery. The average citizen walks in, buys a beautifully decorated cake, eats it in 10 minutes, and is left with nothing but a memory and a sugar crash. That is a liability disguised as a luxury. The wealthy individual, however, does not just want the cake. They want the recipe, they want the ovens, they want the trademark, and they want the land the bakery is built on. They understand that true wealth is not measured by the brand of clothes you wear or the car parked in your driveway, because those things plummet in value the second you purchase them. True wealth is measured by ownership of productive, scarce resources that generate cash flow, regardless of whether you are awake or asleep. The tragedy of the working class is that they have been conditioned to trade their most finite, irreplaceable resource, which is their time, for paper currency that is being infinitely printed by the government. You clock in, you trade a piece of your life for a piece of paper, and then you trade that paper for fleeting comforts to numb the pain of the rat race. The rich do not trade time for money. They acquire assets that trade money for time. Real estate, thriving businesses, intellectual property, equities, and scarce commodities are the lifeboats in this turbulent economic ocean. While the poor and middle class are being crushed by the unseen tax of inflation, those who hold hard assets are quietly watching their net worth soar, precisely because those assets are priced in the very currency that is losing its value. If it takes more dollars to buy a house today than it did 5 years ago, the homeowner has not done any extra work, but their balance sheet has expanded simply because they positioned themselves on the right side of the wealth divide. The system is brutally unforgiving to those who hold cash and remarkably generous to those who hold equity. Until you undergo a violent shift in your psychology and refuse to be a mere consumer, you will forever remain a battery powering someone else's empire. You must ruthlessly audit your life and stop bleeding your capital on depreciating trash designed to keep you pacified. Every dollar you earn is a soldier, and instead of sending them out to die on the battlefield of mindless consumption, you must deploy them to capture territory that will pay you dividends for generations. Realizing you have been on the losing side of this rigged board is a bitter pill to swallow, but it is also the very catalyst required to finally break free. You can no longer afford the luxury of ignorance. The era of blindly trusting the government to protect your purchasing power or relying on a corporate employer to secure your retirement is dead and buried. You are the sole architect of your financial survival, and the only way to escape the matrix is to build a sovereign economy of your own. Go back to the GDP formula of your bakery: consumption, investment, government purchases, and net exports. You must aggressively apply this framework to your personal life. Your goal is to slash your internal consumption to the absolute bone, starving the distractions and the societal pressures that demand you look rich while secretly being broke. Take the capital you free up and violently redirect it into investment. Buy the mental, heavy-duty mixers. Invest in your financial literacy acquire high-income skills, and purchase equity in cash-flowing assets that the money printers cannot devalue. Minimize your reliance on the government, because their safety nets are woven from depreciating thread that will snap under the weight of their own debt. And finally, maximize your net exports by producing vastly more value for the world than you consume from it. Whether you are creating a digital business, offering a rare service, or building a brand, you must become a producer in a society paralyzed by consumption. The world does not care about your excuses, and the financial markets do not have a conscience. They will crush the uneducated without a second thought. But for those who take the time to decode the rules, this environment presents the greatest opportunity for wealth generation in human history. The volatility, the inflation, and the economic chaos are not reasons to hide in fear. They are the very waves you must learn to ride to reach total financial sovereignty. The mask has been ripped off, and the unwritten rules of capitalist survival are now laid bare before you. The choice is entirely yours. You can close this page, go back to sleep, and wake up tomorrow to continue mindlessly swiping your credit card to fund the elite's utopia. Or you can wake up, take the reins of your personal bakery, and start baking an empire of your own. The alarm is ringing, and it is time to decide if you are the master of your wealth or just another ingredient in their machine. The modern financial system is not broken. It is functioning exactly as designed. A meticulously engineered machine built to siphon wealth from the uninformed masses to the financial elite. Inflation is not a natural economic weather event, but a deliberate and silent tax that erodes the purchasing power of your labor, punishing those who save in fiat currency. Meanwhile, central banks orchestrate relentless boom and bust cycles, manipulating interest rates to encourage reckless borrowing before pulling the rug out, allowing the wealthy to scoop up tangible assets at a severe discount. The great divide in our society separates those who trade their irreplaceable time for depreciating paper from those who leverage their money to acquire scarce, cash-flowing assets. You are participating in a rigged game where cash is a melting block of ice and blind consumption is a trap. To break free from this matrix of perpetual financial servitude, you must undergo a radical psychological shift. You can no longer afford to be a passive consumer, relying on corporate safety nets or government promises that are funded by astronomical debt. Instead, you must become the architect of your own sovereign economy. By ruthlessly cutting out mindless consumption, investing heavily in your own financial literacy, and aggressively converting your fiat currency into productive, hard assets, you stop being the fuel for someone else's empire. The volatility of today's markets is not a death sentence. For the educated, it is the greatest wealth-building opportunity in history. You must choose to stop trading your life for fleeting comforts and start deploying your dollars as soldiers to conquer permanent financial freedom. True wealth is measured by ownership, not consumption. The ultimate illusion of the middle class is believing that a high salary and luxury goods equate to financial success, when in reality, they are merely trading their finite time to fund someone else's assets. Fiat currency is not a permanent store of value. It is a melting block of ice. If you do not quickly exchange it for assets that hold intrinsic value and generate cash flow, your purchasing power, and by extension, the life energy you sacrificed to earn it, will inevitably evaporate. Start by conducting a ruthless audit of your personal finances and treat your household like a business. Immediately slash your spending on depreciating liabilities, the brand name items, the luxury vehicle leases, and the fleeting comforts designed to keep you pacified. Redirect every freed-up dollar into acquiring equity. First, invest in your own human capital by learning high-income skills that make you irreplaceable in any economic climate. Second, systematically move your depreciating cash into hard assets such as real estate, index funds, or your own business ventures. Shift your daily mindset from being a consumer to becoming a producer. Which hard asset do you believe is the safest choice right now to protect your money against inflation? Real estate, stocks, gold, or something else? Please share your perspective in the comments section below so we can all discuss and learn from each other's viewpoints. If you found value in this video, please subscribe to the channel. Your support gives us the motivation to keep creating more insightful, high-quality content for you in the future.